Hi everyone. The hypocrisy of not only journalists and the media, the corporate media in the world, especially in America, but the politicians, Western politicians, holds no bounds. There are no bounds to it. In one day, they will use an excuse as a reason not to do something, and then in the next breath almost, use the very same excuse as a reason to do something. I'll get to that in a bit. First, I want to remind you of this. You might remember this. I did a video about it. 10 US Democratic senators in June gave a letter to Mike Pence, who passed it on to Lenin Moreno, the Ecuadorian president, demanding the expulsion of Julian Assange from the Ecuadorian embassy in London, where he's been holed up for 6.5 years under arbitrary detention. They've done it again. Leading US House Democrat demands that Ecuador's president hand over Julian Assange. This is the World Socialist website. This first paragraph is... You'll never see this paragraph on the BBC, on Guardian, The Independent, Fox, MSNBC, CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, you name it. You'll never see it. Not because this paragraph is untrue, but precisely because it is true. Let me read it. The US is increasing its pressure on Ecuador to evict WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange from its London embassy, where he took political asylum in June 2012. He would then be arrested immediately by British police and subjected to extradition proceedings to face trumped-up espionage charges in the US that could see him jailed for life or even executed. That paragraph right there is 100% true. But you will never see a mainstream outlet print anything like that. In fact, quite the opposite. They'll paint Julian Assange to be a problem. I'll continue. On Wednesday, the top-ranking Democrat on the House Foreign Relations Committee sent a threatening letter to Ecuadorian President Lenin Moreno, insisting that he, quote, hand over Assange to the proper authorities as a precondition for improving relations with the United States. You know what's coming next, improving relations. You know what's coming next. Hey, if you do this, you'll get money. We'll give you loans and humanitarian aid. And if you don't, we'll give you sanctions. This is how the American foreign policy works and how it has worked in South America and across the world for decades. And obviously the UK are complicit in it. I'm thinking specifically at the moment Venezuela, but there are other countries as well in the Middle East. In a bipartisan letter, Eliot Engel, a New York Democrat, and former Foreign Relations Committee Chairwoman Leanna Ross-Lehtinen, a Florida Republican, Republicans as well, declared, quote, we are very concerned with Julian Assange's continued presence at your embassy in London and his receipt of Ecuadorian citizenship last year. Why are you concerned about it? Is it because he's been exposing stuff that your government has been doing? I'll continue. Engel's role makes even more explicit the leading part being played by the Democrats in the drive to lock away Assange for good and silence WikiLeaks itself. In June, on the eve of a visit to Ecuador by Vice President Mike Pence, 10 Democratic Party senators called on the Trump administration to demand that the Ecuadorian government renege on the political asylum it provided Assange 6 years ago. Written in bullying and contemptuous language, the Engel-Ross-Lehtinen letter warned that any further significant progress and warming in Washington's relationship with Moreno's government on a wide range of issues, including economic cooperation and financial aid, depends on Ecuador terminating Assange's political asylum. I told you it was coming. I told you. You know what was coming as soon as they said that. The letter effectively confirms that if Assange is forced to leave the embassy on whatever pretext, the British government will deliver him to the hands of the US Prime Minister. Theresa May's government has repeatedly refused to give Assange an assurance he will not be extradited to the US. On numerous occasions, quote, numerous occasions, Mr. Assange has compromised the national security of the United States. How? By showing your government's crimes around the world? By doing his job as a journalist? He has done so by publicly releasing classified government documents along with confidential materials from individuals connected to our country's 2016 presidential election. That's why the Democrats want him. The establishment in America want him for this. It's called Collateral Murder. It shows the murder of 2 Reuters journalists. Remember that? Reuters journalists. I'll stop this before it gets to the actual killing. But this is an Apache gunship, an American gunship. I'll stop it right there just before it opens fire. But you can see that is a human rights abuse. That's a crime that America committed. And that's what Julian Assange released. He didn't hack anything. He didn't get that illegally. Somebody in the American government gave that to him, released it to him, and as he did his job as a journalist and released it. How is that? How is that, as it says here, causing any problems for the United States government that are illegal and putting anybody's lives at risk? That's actually, good journalistic practice. That's a good journalist right there. Nobody's ever said that anything Julian Assange has released has been untrue. I'll stop it right there. I'll stop reading this. I'll leave the link down below as always, so you can read it. But you get the gist. Well, there's another thing that's in the news at the moment, isn't there? And that's about a journalist, and that's Jamal Khashoggi. He was tortured and killed by Saudi Arabia for being critical of Saudi Arabia. And the Democrats, the Democrats that signed that letter, they're saying stuff like this. The world has watched with disbelief as reports emerge about the apparent killing and dismemberment of the Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. The United States must send a message that this killing will not go unpunished. For any country to feel emboldened to kill a man, they're all outraged about this murder of Khashoggi. But it's not outrage just about the murder. Here's Mark Warner, somebody who actually, signed that letter, the chairman. This is not leadership. We need answers from the Saudis about Jamal Khashoggi's disappearance. The president should be leading that effort and standing up for human rights. Standing up for human rights. It's a principled thing, a principled stance you've taken there, Mark. Well done. Standing up for human rights because of Khashoggi's torture and murder. Here's Bob Menendez. Citizens brave enough to criticise their government must know that the US supports their right. You support the right of people criticising governments, do you, Bob? If Jamal Khashoggi was murdered for exercising his fundamental rights, we must act. Those responsible for gross violations of human rights, again, must be held accountable, no matter who they are. I agree, Bob. 100%. Especially the human rights of people like Julian Assange, who the UN have said, time and time again, he's in arbitrary detention, which is a violation of human rights. They have said that it's in violation of his human rights. It's inhumane treatment. He's in solitary confinement, or has been, for 7 months. Still haven't heard from him, even though his communications are meant to be temporary or partly restored. Still haven't heard of him. Strange, isn't it? They'll use human rights as an excuse to, chastise Saudi Arabia. Don't mention human rights at all when it comes to Julian Assange. And obviously when Julian Assange is extradited to the United States, or if he is, what's going to happen? Well, what happened to the person that actually leaked that video, Collateral Damage, to him and other documents? What happened to her? Oh yeah, that's right. She was tortured. Do you see the hypocrisy? Why is it the mainstream media aren't pointing this out, but I am? Now, I'm not saying that Khashoggi's treatment, his murder and dismemberment is even close to, what's happening to Julian Assange. But you can see here, they'll stand up for human rights when it comes to Khashoggi and other journalists. But when it comes to Julian Assange, who's critical of them and exposes their crimes, Human rights don't apply then. Not when it comes to America. America are the good guys. When we violate human rights, we do it for good reasons. Our reasons for torturing people are good and true. The hypocrisy of it all holds no bounds whatsoever. Just wanted to do a little video highlighting that. So the next time you hear a Democratic senator or Republican or a politician over here in the UK talking about human rights, just remember, they don't give a shit about human rights when it comes to journalists who expose Western crimes. The hypocrisy is too damn high. If you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe and click the bell below so you get a notification of when I drop further videos. Independent voices like mine, I'm sure you're aware by now, are being censored across all social media platforms, so please like and comment on the videos. That really does help the channel out, and share the videos wherever you can to grow the audience. If you can, please support me on Patreon. You can do it for as little as $1 a month. I cannot do this without your help. I rely on your donations. Thanks very much for your support. It really is appreciated. Until next time, peace and take care.